Hi guys, welcome back to Jason's Pizza Lab. Last night, or in the previous video, you have seen I was producing a Poolish, which was a 40% contribution to the dough that I'm about to make this evening. Looking at the clock on my wall, it's telling me it's 21.5 hours since I made that Poolish, which is on the countertop below me. So if no further ado, go to the overhead. So on the countertop, I've pre-weighed out all of the ingredients for this particular dough that I'm making. So it's going to be a 1.65 kilogram batch of dough with a 66% hydration. Um, this Poolish that I produced last night has been sat on my countertop for the last 21.5 hours, as I said previously, and it's all nice and jiggly. And if I sort of bring that to the camera, as you can see, it is full orientation. I don't know how to do this. Orientate, yeah, you can see it's all nice and jiggly and very bubbly, where the carbon dioxide is bubbling through the flour, which is exactly what we want. So we have a quantity of water, a bit of strong flour. This is 14.5% protein. This is Caputo Saccharosso. I've weighed out the salt. I've got a bit of olive oil, and in the middle, you can just see on that little spoon, I've got roughly 1 gram of instant dry yeast. So what I'll do now is I'm going to smash all this through into the mixer, and I'll catch you in a moment. Okay, so basically all I'm going to be doing now is adding all of the Poolish straight into the mixer. Okay, this is a very sticky. You can't see very well on the overhead, unfortunately, but I promise you this is all going in. So there's 780 grams of Poolish that I made last night. And the idea of this is going to be a 40% contribution to the dough that I'm making. Normally I usually run about 30%, but I was watching a video on YouTube the other day of some other guy making, actually it might have been TikTok, thinking about it, and got the mind thinking that maybe a bit more Poolish would be better than less. I'll add the bulk of the water. So this is water from the cooler of my fridge. So it's pretty cold. I have on the side of my mixer a temperature gauge which is built into the breaker bar, and that's the sort of thing I'm pointing at there. So that tells me the temperature of whatever is in the bowl. This is a Revo Titan Tilt 7.5, good for about 5 kilos of dough. As I said in my previous videos, this was pretty much a game changer for me in terms of making dough. I used to make my dough by hand, usually 1.5 to 2 kilos a week, based on making half a dozen 8 pizzas on a Saturday evening for the family. Making 2 kilos by hand is actually quite hard work. Um, so picking up this machine has been a game changer for me. So we've got the Poolish in, we've got the bulk of the water. I have left a small amount in the jug. I'll add that later. Okay, so in with all the flour. I will put all the measurements, the weights on the screen for you, so you can have an idea of what this recipe is. In goes all the salt. So this salt is actually um, ground in my coffee grinder. It's rock salt, which is then ground to a very fine paste, that very fine powder. But the main purpose for doing that is it purely just sort of dissolves into the flour and the water quite nicely. So no further ado, we just set the machine going. So on the overhead, I was kind of hoping that you would see that the spiral action is so on the overhead, I was kind of hoping that you'd see the spiral in action. Unfortunately, my third camera that I have for this sort of filming setup, I need to get a different tripod so I can get a different angle into the top of the machine, so you can just see what the spiral does. Um, Spiral mixers are used everywhere in commercial bakeries. I mean, it's the go-to mixer, and it just produces an absolutely fantastic dough, far better than I've ever produced by doing this by hand. So this is going to be running now for another 14 and a half minutes. This is only been going for a short while. Typically, I run this for 15 minutes. I keep an eye on the temperature just to make sure that it's not getting too warm. So what's left on here is to obviously drop in the yeast. That is kind of helpful. And we'll pop in a little bit more of the water just to... There we go. You can see the spiral doing its thing. And the dough basically attaches to that breaker bar in the middle, and as the bowl is rotating around, you can see there's still flour in the bottom corner. That will all get incorporated very nicely. So you can see that the dough sort of taking a very, very basic shape of what we would call a pumpkin. You can see the sort of overlapping sort of ribs. Looks a little bit like a pumpkin. Okay, so that's all of the water. At some point you look at this and think there's no way this dough is going to be of any use. It does, however, have another 10 minutes mixing to go through. And in those 10 minutes, it'll transform the consistency of this dough from what looks like a gooey mess at the moment into a fully incorporated 66% hydration dough. Okay, so I think it's pretty evident on the video now that it's starting to take quite a decent consistency. And that's only with an extra 2 minutes since the last time I mentioned how gooey it looked. This would still be very sticky dough. You wouldn't be touching this by hand with any notion that it's going to not be stuck to your hands. But you can see that it's now more of a consistent. The bowl is becoming clearer and clearer down the bottom. You can see there's sort of little bits of dough stuck to the side. They will go a few more minutes, and all that will be completely incorporated into the main mass of the dough. Actually, that view is pretty good there. What that shows very clearly that the dough is being stretched. Yeah, so obviously part of the kneading process, if you're doing this by hand, you are constantly stretching the dough to improve the gluten matrix, the structure of the dough. And this is showing that process very, very nicely. The breaker bar is looking a bit messy, but that will incorporate. You have 7 minutes on the clock. So looking at the bottom of the bowl, you can see it looks sort of quite sticky. It looks like there's still a lot of dough sort of adhering to the bottom of the bowl. Well, the timer is showing still about 5.5 minutes to run. So I would say in the next 2 or 3 minutes, if I can keep the camera still, you'll see that dough start to peel away from the bottom of the bowl. You can see as the bowl is rotating around and the spiral is doing its thing, it's constantly pulling away the dough from the bottom. And as the gluten is strengthened in the dough, you can see again it's sort of climbing up the spiral, then breaking, climbs up, then falls straight back down. 4 minutes left. Okay, so I think it looks like the bottom of the bowl is starting to clean up, which is great. You can see that the dough from where the spiral is, there's a slightly wet patch as it comes around. Yeah, roughly there, and that will sort itself out. There we go. There's that one patch as it spins around. It'll pick up on that. So only that little patch left. Look, I think the size of the bowl is mostly clean. There we go. That wet patch that was on the bottom is now gone. Look. And as the dough is rolling around, you can see it's sort of spiraling up the breaker bar. So the dough that is stuck there is slowly being peeled away. So that's the that's the process finished there in terms of kneading the dough. Open the machine up. This dough is looking really good. It's quite sticky. It's 66%, so there's a fair bit of water in this. Slightly higher than your average Neapolitan grade dough. In terms of window pane test, this is sticking to my hands quite badly. Yeah, so this is 66%. Normally you go for 60 to 62% for a Neapolitan. I'm opting for a slightly higher hydration because this particular dough with that sort of level of water gives you a really, really nice crust. Very airy, like the cell structure is crispy but bouncy and springy. So what I'll do now is I'll leave this for 15-20 minutes, come back, and then I'll add the remaining ingredient, which is 10 grams of olive oil. The dough's been resting for the last half an hour. So the next thing we'll be doing is adding in the olive oil. Okay, so this shows the dough sitting in the bottom of the bowl, and it is nice and elastic. It's not as sticky as it was. This is looking really nice. So I'll close the mixer back down, drizzle in the 10 grams of oil, and basically let the machine run for a few minutes just to incorporate that oil. Okay, so with the addition of the oil, you can see that the dough is gone to what looks to be quite a sticky consistency again. In fact, I've just set the timer on the side of the mixer to 2 minutes. It typically doesn't take any more than 2 minutes for the oil to be incorporated in. But you can see the dough in the bottom is again peeling away quite nicely. This is good. Just increase the speed of the mixer from 3 to 4. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the oil incorporation. Okay, so by the power of editing, I actually let this machine run for a few more minutes because I wasn't happy that the dough was fully incorporated with the oil. In the bowl, I now have 1.7 kilos, thereabouts, of 66% hydration dough. So I'm just going to scoop this out onto the worktop. Okay, tiny bit on the bottom. So this looks like it's going to be fairly sticky. In fact, it is showing on my hand to be quite sticky. Okay, so all we're going to do now with this for the moment is put this straight into the plastic container. This is looking okay. Okay, so that is my 1.7 kilo batch of dough. It's a bit sticky than I expected. If you look at my hands there, there's a bit of dough on there. I'm going to leave this sort of rest for another half an hour. I'll do some more stretch and folds, and then wait another half an hour, do a second batch of stretches and folds. Then this container will go into my proving box at 4 degrees for the next 72 hours. This, as I said, this would probably be combated a little bit better if I'd actually put olive oil on my hands. For some stupid reason, I didn't use oil, so my hands are a little sticky, but this is perfectly fine dough to use. So if you found this video useful in terms of preparation and showing the spiral mixer in action, drop us a like, drop us a follow. Entirely up to you guys. Obviously the support is much appreciated. Any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. See you next time. Bye.